Hey everybody, welcome to Mr. Rogers' afternoon clay class. Ready for another demo on pinch pots. Today's demo will be one of the more difficult forms for pinching, and that is the hourglass form. First thing I do, as always, cube up my clay, get the air out, make it nice and dense. Knock down all the corners. Get it to a more spherical shape. Then, as always, use my hands to turn it into a sphere. So this form is going to start out kind of like the closed opening. And then, well, what I'm going to do is have a narrow opening and then make a nice tall fat cylinder. But I don't want the opening to get out of hand. And I could use some tools to help myself here. Alright, so typical pinch pot beginning. Start with a hole with your index. The thickness of the clay at the bottom is about a ½ inch or so. And now I'm going to start pinching. But I'm going to be mindful of the opening. I don't want it to get crazy. It doesn't have to stay super tiny. And what I'm doing here is my goal here is to try to make a tall, kind of narrow cylinder. And I'm pinching this clay down here up and into the pot, into the height. So I'm stretching that clay up. And I don't want the clay to flare out. I want the clay to go straight up and grow that way. But I don't want to make it too thin yet. I don't want the clay to be too thin because I still have to flare it out to make my hourglass. So, stretching that clay up. When I pinched all this clay, I pinched it into this area. So now, I can close that back up a bit. I have this form, and this is just a narrow cylinder. Now I have to decide where I want the neck of the hourglass to be. I can put it in the middle. I can put it up high. And I think I'll just put it about here. And I figure the height right there, and I start squeezing the clay and spinning, turning, and I will make that one area narrow. And as I make that area more narrow, sorry about that, it's going to get that clay in this section is going to get a little thicker. You can see the hourglass form started just ever so slightly. And I'm going to take my index finger and belly out this area here. Turn. Now I got a little split right there. That's okay. Since the clay is soft and gooey, that's easily repaired. Stretch the clay. I may lose my neck a little bit here, this part. And as I stretch this clay and belly it out, the clay is going to get, those walls are going to get much thinner. And again, that index finger's in there, just doing this. This area might be an issue later. Might have to do some repairs there. A little thinner. All right, looks pretty good. And I'll narrow my neck a little bit more. Turn and squeeze, turn and squeeze, and I'm just squeezing it like kind of like that. Now, this area is about as thin as I want, and the neck area, there is a little bit of clay in there that I can squeeze up into the top. So I want to pinch that up. And these typically look a little rough right after you make them. And a lot of beginners would stop about here and then let their clay set up a bit. I've been making these for a long time, so I can just keep going. And there's your typical hourglass form. And again, this is one of the tougher forms to make. All right. There's view from the side. And again, hourglass. All right, thanks for watching.